pounds. But anyway, now, when she got to his house, right, I guess he wanted to make love, have sex, but she didn't. And that set him off in a rage. He lost it. He lost it. He couldn't control his temper. Next thing you know, he went to the kitchen, grabbed an 8-inch kitchen knife, and repeatedly stabbed her to the right side of her face and her neck, and slit her throat. Shaking my head, man. Terrible, man. And look, they say she tried to fight back, but he was just too strong. She was in the covers. She was defenseless, man. By the time he was done, he stabbed Simone over 70 times. 70 times. But check this, right? Now, after killing her, he called his brother and told him that he thinks he just killed his girlfriend. That's what he told his brother. He called his brother, told his brother, yo, I think I just killed my girlfriend, so take care of my stuff, and he would see him in the next life. Then he called the cops and told the cops to come because he just committed a murder, explaining to them that he was an ex-army vet and he has a lot of mental issues. He was trying to use that mental thing, think he gonna get out of it. He told the cops he got a lot of mental issues and he was armed and dangerous with a gun and knife. Now, he also told the cops that he killed Simone because she just got on his nerves. She was trying to fight him, take his money, so he had to defend himself. Wow. Now, after that, police came and they had to use a battering ram to break down the door, and they arrested him. And when they got to Simone, they just said she was dead, wrapped in a bloody blanket. Shame, man, shaking my head. And look, Desmond, look, he's still telling the police he acted in self-defense. And he also claimed to have partial amnesia. Now, the crazy part is, right, his family, Desmond's family, knew about his struggle with depression, and he had been admitted to the hospital prior after telling his mother he was feeling suicidal the year before because he overdosed. They knew all about his history with this whole mental issues thing. Plus, when he first joined the army at the age of 22, he had stabbed himself in the neck while working in a bakery. And look, in 2010, he assaulted his own mama. He assaulted his own mother. And throughout his army career, he went through all types of stuff, bad divorce. He wanted to see his daughter. And look, the night before, he had called his brother. See, he called his brother the night before and told him he was having suicidal thoughts and he felt he was going to kill himself or kill somebody else. Now on trial, in court, he pleaded not guilty but admitted to the manslaughter of Simone, but denied the murder, claiming that his depression impaired his judgment. But the prosecutor said that his actions were a case of sexual desire, appalling violence, and desperate lies, and said Desmond wanted to restart a sexual relationship with Simone, who was his on and off girlfriend. And when he didn't get his way, and when he didn't get it, he couldn't control his anger, and he exploded. Now, Desmond also told the court he did not mean to kill Simone, claiming that when he slashed her throat, at that split second, he thought he had a mental breakdown. But you know, the judge and the jury wasn't even trying to hear that mess he was talking. And he was sentenced to life with a minimum of 21 years. Shaking my head. That's all he got. That's crazy. Because look, Simone, she was on her way, man. She was just on the Britain's Got Talent show. They made it to the finals just a few months before she was murdered. She had just lost her 6-year-old son 3 years ago. And she was a hard-working nurse helping people with the sickest. Chris was from the streets, and he didn't like all that hanging out with the celebrities in the industry. He'd rather go hang out in the hood where he's from. He just felt much more comfortable there. But with success comes hate and jealousy, especially from the cops, believe it or not. The cops are real jealous. Plus, on top of that, the people from the neighborhood, they hated that all the kids looked up to him and he was now doing something positive. And he had a lot of power. And he was also trying to get back into church. But the police took that as him being a gang leader though. And the hate for him was getting out of control because weeks earlier, he got into a fight with two guys and he filed charges to the police after shots were fired at his car while he was driving. His cousin was shot and killed months earlier, and another cousin was shot a year before that. He had a lot of beef coming his way. I mean, he had some words with a guy named Sticks, and a week later, the guy told Chris's cousin Jesse that he was going to get him and Chris. And on November 3rd, 1991, around 2 a.m. sometime, Chris came to visit his mom and have a bowl of ice cream. Afterwards, Chris and his cousin Jesse were listening to some music, talking and smoking weed in his blue Mercedes-Benz when they heard a shot. Then they heard 20 to 30 more shots towards his car from 3 men in black hoodies. Chris jumped on his cousin, shielded him, protecting him. When it was over, Chris was shot 4 times in the back, once in the torso and in the elbow, and later died in the hospital. His cousin that was in the car with him was unharmed. After his death, the police on his case really didn't have too many good things to say about Chris. In the newspaper, they were trying to describe him as a drug dealer. He may have been engaged in illicit activity, or someone may have wanted to settle an old score, or he may have stiffed somebody in a drug deal. That's what they said in the newspaper about Chris. But Chris's family say if the cops were doing their job, patrolling and policing the area, Chris would probably still be alive. Chris was changing his life and doing positive things at that time. His manager said that the word on the street was that the shooters didn't know Chris was in the car because Chris had tinted windows and it was dark. They just wanted to shoot his car up, and the murder was an accident. A week before he was killed, he was supposed to go to Atlanta and start working on his next album. And on November 9th, 1991, over 500 relatives and friends attended and mourned at his funeral. And the police did end up catching those guys though. The suspects, Timothy Lucas, was convicted of second-degree murder in the killing, but was granted parole in January 2015. Eerie Kendall was found guilty of second-degree murder, but was paroled in 2008. Kevin Bynum was found guilty of being an accessory after the fact of second-degree murder and sentenced to 5 years to 7 years in prison. He served that term and was released. Kevin Bynum was found guilty of being an accessory after the fact of second-degree murder and sentenced to 5 to 7 years in prison. He served that term and was released. And Ernest Lucky Fernandez was convicted of first-degree. Adopted him. But anyway, now back to the story. After Bobby Christina and Nick Gordon made up after the argument, right, they went upstairs, according to Max Lomas. Max Lomas said he later went upstairs, and that's when he later found Bobby Christina face down and floating in a tub of cold water in the bathroom. After pulling her out of the tub and noticed that she wasn't breathing, he yelled for Nick, then called 911. Now, when Nick Gordon saw her, he started panicking and let the water out of the tub and told Max and his girlfriend, Daniela Bradley, who was also present at the time and one of Bobby Christina's close friends. Now, Nick Gordon told him to clean up clean up all the stuff around. They had drugs and beer, everything. And Nick Gordon started doing CPR on her and slapping her, yelling to wake up. And eventually he got her to regurgitate water twice until the paramedics arrived. Now, earlier I mentioned the name Daniela Bradley, who was also there that night. Now, according to Daniela, she said Bobby Christina and Nick Gordon were fighting bad, and Nick Gordon began kicking Bobby Christina in the side to the point that she was on the floor screaming and curled up in a fetal position. The fight allegedly knocked one of Bobby Christina's teeth out. Now, she then said Nick Gordon then demanded that Bobby Christina go upstairs, but she had to crawl, unable to walk after the physical assault. Nick then left and did cocaine and was drinking all night. Came back home, checked on Bobby Christina, and changed his clothes. Came out of the room and got in the bed with a female house guest who was staying there, saying, "Now, I want a pretty little white girl like you." He was saying that to the female guest that was staying there. Wow, that's crazy. And I remember Bobby Brown saying this in his book, that when he went to go see Bobby Christina, she had bruises all over her and her teeth was missing, in which Pat Houston told him that she lost a tooth when doctors was trying to put the tubes down her throat. Another crazy fact is the day before Whitney was found dead, which was ruled accidental drowning in her Beverly Hills hotel room bathroom the night before the Grammy Awards, which I don't believe, Bobby Christina almost drowned in the tub after falling into a drunken sleep while bathing. And that was at the same hotel, the Beverly Hills Hilton, and the water overflowed out into the hallway, and luckily Whitney found her and pulled her out. Now check this, here's another crazy part to this story, right? In August 2018, Max Lomas, who I mentioned earlier, who found Bobby Christina, he was found dead due to a drug overdose. Now reports say after going into his friend's bathroom, his friend became concerned when Max didn't come out for a while. When he went in to check on him, he found him on the floor in the bathroom with a syringe by his body. He was then rushed to the hospital where he died. Supposedly, he was supposed to be clean from drugs and he wasn't friends with Nick Gordon at the time anymore, but it's just eerie because he died in the bathroom too. He was 28 years old. R.I.P. Max Lomas. Now getting back to Bobby Christina, right? Now, after all that, Bobby Christina was transported to the hospital and later placed in a medically induced coma and on a ventilator. I remember Bobby Brown saying at one of his shows that Bobby Christina was awake and doing good. And I think everybody thought she was going to pull through. Was going to make it out that coma, but then Bobby got a call from a nurse saying that Bobby Christina just took her last breath and died. So he flies out to Atlanta to make funeral arrangements, and when he gets there, Bobby Christina is still alive. Now check this out, right? Then he finds out about a fake nurse who didn't have a license taking care of Bobby Christina at the hospice. Some lady from Nigeria came.